All right. We're gonna go ahead and call this advanced metaphysics. Okay. I'm literally skipping all the boring stuff for you so that you can start exploring your reality, and I really want you to be able to gain a sense of certainty from this. Okay, that's important, and that starts with a little bit of unlearning and unknowing. Okay, first of all, an energy wave doesn't exist. Okay, we're doing metaphysics now. Energy waves don't exist. The only waves that exist in your reality are going to come from your hand or the ocean. Okay, everything that we perceive, all parts of our existence and reality, okay? Everything, our feelings, what we see, what we think, if there's an absence of something, it's a force. Everything we perceive is a force. Our life is a force. Our feelings are a force. Our vision is a force. Everything has an equal and opposite force pressing against it, anything that we can perceive, all right? And it does that a couple ways. There's the light and the dark, and there's the physical and the metaphysical, okay? Now, in the impact of light and dark, when they collide with each other, the force of impact between light and dark manifests itself in 7 spectrums of radiant electromagnetic energy, okay? And physical and metaphysical, all right? There's a really good reason that metaphysics has been completely smothered and eliminated by science. There's a reason they hid this from us, okay? It's a big deal. Metaphysical force is the big part. It's the big part. The invisible stuff is the big part of reality, okay? Think of metaphysics this way, all right? Every metaphysical and physical are the exact same thing and the exact opposite thing at the same time. So everything with physical properties also has metaphysical properties and metaphysical force, and vice versa. Our physical body, there's metaphysical force pressing against it, the light, and there's metaphysical force pressing outward from it, okay? So it's, the resistance of anything we perceive, everything has resistance and an opposite, all right? And that is where you can draw your confidence from in everything that you perceive, okay? Anything that gives you a question of any kind, look for its opposite. Find its opposite opposing force. It could either be physical or metaphysical. You could have something influencing you physically that has a metaphysical force that's making it happen, and vice versa. Let me explain. It'll make sense. Light is both physical and metaphysical. All right? It's got a force. Any light that we see has darkness pressing against it. All right? So light is radiant electromagnetic energy. It radiates. And like I said in the other video, darkness is a vacuum, so it sucks into things and becomes objects fixed, right? Light moves, and darkness is physical fixed, right? So when we see light, the light that comes into the black of our pupil, the radiant electromagnetic force of any light that we see, goes directly into the black of our pupil. Okay, and our eye, the pupil of our eye is physical. All right, that is the physical oppositional force of the metaphysical force of the light, the radiant electromagnetic energy as it goes into our eye. So there's opposition right when it goes into our eye. And that light, after it goes into the black of our eye, is then pressing against the physical darkness of our consciousness. Our consciousness is in opposition of dark and light. It's metaphysical light pressing against physical darkness. That is the manifestation of our consciousness. Our thoughts they're emitted from infinite darkness, the infinite darkness of our physical consciousness. That's where our thinking happens. So light comes in through the black of our pupil, presses against the darkness of the physical darkness of our consciousness, okay? And that's when it goes inward. You turn it inward, all right? And that's important because when we turn our thoughts, our conscious thought, the darkness of our conscious thought inwards, okay? And we press that darkness against the light of our emotions, the feelings that we have, and then we express ourselves in any way. What happens is the light of our emotions, the force from them, is interpreted through the darkness of our thoughts, okay? And again, physical to metaphysical, dark to light, opposition has to be there. So as that energy comes through, the force comes back out of us, it is expressed through the color and the white of our eyes. So that is what you're seeing when you look at somebody in the eye and they're expressing their feelings to you, and you can see those feelings and feel them coming off of them, especially when you're looking in their eye. You're actually seeing the absence of everything that they're not showing you, okay? What's coming out of their eyes is physical darkness that you're perceiving, okay? So that's actually the way our eyes work. The black pupil takes in radiant electromagnetic energy, and then we turn the darkness of our thoughts and that energy inward towards our feelings, and our feelings interpret it. Okay, there's a force there. They're pressed against the darkness of our thoughts, and then we express that. That's how knowledge is created. When somebody expresses something, any words that we say, each word we use is the culmination of everything we've ever said or done. So back to opposition, okay? In your reality, you can take confidence in everything that you experience. Just look for its opposite, okay? That means that all of the terrible stuff that's going on right now, everything, the worst of it and the worse it gets, is only possible because it is pressing directly against either the physical or metaphysical light of its exact opposite. Okay? If we don't have a baby that's born and dies within a few months or a few years of being born, how are we ever going to know what it means when somebody lives a full, healthy, complete life? Okay? So all the terrible stuff we are seeing is the prerequisite force or darkness pressing against us, our existence, okay? Because the light, good light gets brighter, okay? Good light doesn't flicker, it doesn't stay the same, it has to get brighter. It's a force, it keeps going. And it has to get brighter and keep going because its opposition is a vacuum, an infinite vacuum, okay? So when you look around and all you're seeing is terrible stuff, it very literally means you are the light, you are the oppositional force to that, okay? Our conscious attention, again, it emits metaphysical force. And again, that's another thing. When you're trying to understand the invisible forces of our reality, like I said, our emotions are both. They're physical inside of us. They make us do physical things, and they're expressed metaphysically. They press against the metaphysical force of reality. So everything, when you walk in a room and you feel everything in there, you feel the lighting change, that is physical, more physical than getting punched in the face. Those feelings you have going places are literally your light pressing against the force of reality. That's your life force pressing outward. But yeah, that's this is just basic stuff. This is the basics. We got to understand that we live in resistance. Okay, so if we can start to understand that balance of physical and metaphysical, the light and the dark, how they come together, how they work with each other, and how they compose our reality, then everything will make it'll be a lot easier to understand everything. So as you're doing this, again, remember the process, okay? We were reversed learned. We were backwards learned in school, okay? The actual process for learning, I mentioned this a couple times, is sense, experience, know, then act, all right? Using that process, you can't go wrong. You can't be wrong. You won't feel wrong. Okay, that's how we learn, And you use the 7 dimensions of your existence to explore your reality. Look at the pseudo-heptagram. Wherever you're coming from, you can't have it. You should never regret, because it's exactly where you were supposed to be coming from, metaphysically. What you were doing, whether it was good or bad, was creating the necessary balance for its opposite to exist. That is our obligation. We transmute force. We create force. We are the opposition, the ultimate question. So if you look at everything I've been showing you, 7 is the numeric manifestation of our existence, okay? We are 7, all right? If you take the pseudo-heptagram, okay, put a question mark right in the middle of it, it'll make a lot more sense, because we are the ultimate question itself. If you look at a question mark, it's an inverted 6 plus 1. 6 plus 1 is the written definition of 7, okay? The silence itself inside of us, the ultimate silence, the ultimate question, is what is inside of us. That's where our emotions come from. Okay? Your emotions seem so incredibly loud and huge because they are the direct opposition. They are the opposition of the silence itself. They are what presses against the silence. If silence was screaming its head off, the sound it would make is what you feel when you have any kind of emotion. All right? The silence is the ultimate question. We were never supposed to have we were never supposed to make questions out of everything. Okay? We weren't supposed to make questions. We are the ultimate question. We're supposed to question everything. Okay? We have an insatiable curiosity that is the resistance that presses against the reality itself, giving it, I don't know, it's where we get our fulfillment. It's how we get our fulfillment, our insatiable curiosity about the world. That is, look up the antonyms for disenchantment. Look up the word disenchantment. Disenchantment, okay? That is what was done to us. The indoctrination was secondary, okay? Not knowing how our eyes work and that we are light, that there's light inside of us, thinking that our brain is how we think, is exactly what led to the disenchantment of the world. Look up the antonyms of the word disenchantment to understand it. Know it by its antonyms, okay? Then look at all of its synonyms. I recommend Merriam-Webster's thesaurus. Yeah, again, and another thing, we're doing metaphysics now. We don't use dictionaries. We don't use dictionaries. We use the thesaurus. There is no such thing as knowing a word or its force unless you understand the force of every other word associated with it. Because when we hear a word, when we observe a word, we are observing all of its synonyms and all of its antonyms. And the contrast between the synonyms and antonyms of words are where you can actually establish its truth and balance and its function. Knowing words doesn't start with the etymologies, but that's beginner metaphysics. That's beginning stuff. I'm getting off topic here. We're just doing the cool stuff. So light comes in through the black of our eyes. All right, our eyes are controlled by physical darkness of our consciousness. Okay, so that's how we see. All right, we use light. Our eyes are controlled by light. There is an internal light. It's not electricity. Electricity can't even do the stuff that light does. Okay. We're always doing opposite things. If I'm looking at something and thinking about something else or doing something else, those are two completely opposite things. Again, everything we do has to have an opposing force. Everything. And that is how you're able to be certain of things. Okay? That's how you're able to be certain. All right? That is how I came upon the things I know. Okay, I'm gonna try to make this make sense. All right, I'm gonna oversimplify it, but you have an idea of our reality now. There's opposition, there's force. Everything's a force. It has to be a force. Okay, just think of the force that's created in the absence of knowing. Think of the force that's created with all the questions that we've asked that we never should have had that were put to us. Think of the force that's created from all of the combinations of metaphysical force that are generated through the internet. I mean, if you're curious about how we manage to use every combination of every word in the entire language and reach the end of it, look there. We got the internet, everybody saying everything wrong, everybody doing everything wrong, everybody seeing everything wrong. Nothing right was happening forever. Nothing was being right. We created a profound metaphysical force doing everything wrong. And all the information that we could possibly have that is incorrect is in existence. It's in the internet. It's on the internet right now. Go look up the word routine. It's going to tell you its root words are route and route. All right? There's three words in routine, which is in, rot, and rote. Those words are consistent with routine. But the internet lies to us. Okay? It helps hide the occult words. Okay? That's where I'm learning occult words from. The oppositional force. Okay? when all of the other combinations of words are used, I mean, there's only certain things that remain. I don't know, there's another way to explain it, I think. Let me see here. Okay. I guess the best way to explain it is like this. If we've used all the lies, we've done all the BS, we've done all the wrong things, made all the mistakes, that means all of the imposters have made their impersonations, okay? And again, a lie is a metaphysical force that presses directly against the truth, right? And when all the imposters have done their thing and all the wrong names or incorrect names have been used, all right? What's happening, what has happened in the world is we've made force that has forced truth and knowledge physically out into the metaphysical, okay? Every object we see anywhere, we could tell a lie about. We could see untruth around it. There's BS everywhere. So it's because of the force. It's a physical force, all right? When all that knowledge about things and truth about everything had to go somewhere. It has to have oppositional force, okay? And the only way for knowledge, for anything to be known, any single thing, the only way a thing can be known is when everything is first unknown, okay? You can't put knowledge where knowledge is already at, knowledge grows. And that's really ideally my whole goal, my whole purpose for exposing this stuff is to create weaponized tactical knowledge bombs, okay? So that anybody exposed to it, it expands and gets refined and more effective for each and every single person that gets exposed to. That's what I'm doing. I'm making weaponized knowledge missiles, okay? I have to. I don't have any choice because of the force, the metaphysical force that presses against me, okay? When I had my awakening, I woke up from more than a whole lifetime of dissociative amnesia, okay? I did not have my identity. I did not know who I was, and I was literally out of my mind my whole life. I've got receipts you wouldn't believe. Out of my mind my whole life. I dwelled in nescience. I got fully indoctrinated, all the way indoctrinated. I took the school to prison pipeline. There's absolutely no explanation for how I could have any access to the illumination that has been forced on me as a multiracial, 3-time loser federal ex-convict. It doesn't make sense. I'm supposed to be stupid. I failed all through school, Except it was all oppositional force. I spent my whole life unknowing, and doing it in the unknown, okay? I spent my life unlearning, answering questions, removing knowledge from my head when I didn't have any in the first place. Okay? That's the force, right? That means when we've applied all of the metaphysical force that we possibly can to all of the physical objects that we possibly can, it's got to go somewhere. The metaphysical force that's pressing against physical objects makes the physical truth of those objects become metaphysical, okay? But metaphysical force can't exist without the physical oppositional pressing against it, okay? So all of that metaphysical force could only go to the one correct name that hasn't been used up yet. There was only room anywhere in existence with one person. There was only enough emptiness anywhere. I mean, it's more complicated than that even. I spent my whole life being hyper-physical. Okay, again, there's receipts. Look at my Facebook. I was the ultimate macho, musclehead douchebag. Okay, literally. Nothing existed in my world outside of my arm's reach. If I couldn't put my hands on it and manhandle it and physically take care of it, it didn't exist to me. There was no spiritual existence about me whatsoever. Okay? Nothing spiritual. I was all physicality. Which made all the empty space that was necessary for the most profound spirit there is, the most profound force of spirit. I can't make up some shit that somebody already did. It's not possible. The reason we don't know the exact origins of our English language, the reason we don't know where English comes from, is because if you know the beginning of something, then you can find the end. That's how force works, okay? So, prophecy, people who know what's happening and what's going to happen, they have used every combination of words they've got from the beginning to the end of the language and created algorithms, okay, to predict what's going to happen when based on what words are being used and all that. They make algorithms. If you know both sides of it, you can predict what it's going to do. You can see all of its characteristics. You understand? So that's how the people in power know what's going on. That's how the prophecies were made. That's how prophecies were made. Somebody literally just measured out and predicted based on having all the words and what they do. And people, these were people who had knowledge of metaphysics, people who, you know, have an understanding of the invisible forces of our reality. You know, the fact that every object we see has metaphysical force. You know, it's got physical darkness around it. That's why if you're looking for something, okay, you're looking for your ball, and you ask me, hey, have you seen my ball? And your ball happens to be blue, okay? But, you know, I say I describe a different color, you know, and tell you look for something completely different, you know, or describe something completely different, you know? You can mislead somebody with words, because what you're doing when you lie to someone or describe something with the wrong description and mislead someone, you're using physical darkness to cover that object up, which changes its metaphysical light and force. Our words are physical darkness. You know, it's easy to forget that. And again, what's metaphysical is much greater than physical. Our feelings, again, we feel how big our feelings are. They are exactly as big and as powerful as they feel. They're the resistance against all life and everything. Again, I hope that you can get some, you know, some certainty, a sense of certainty from some of this, because that's what I want you to have. I want you to, you know, see the balance, know that it is balanced. Your creator is not good. Your creator is balanced, okay? The dark is the prerequisite for the light. That's divinity. You know, the divine is the extrapolation of the light out of the darkness. You know, just like the ultimate question, the silence inside of us. You know, the darkness is inside of us. That's how we absorb infinite light. You know, we're the ultimate question. We question everything. That's a place to start. You got somewhere to start. There is a way, okay? Whatever it is that's bothering you, whatever is making you feel uncomfortable or uneasy, there's a way. All of the uncertainty that you see or experience, it doesn't exist. Absolutely everything that you're doing, good or bad, whether it feels good or not, is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. We're designed naturally to take the most pleasurable route, whatever feels good. That is our compulsion. If I'm going to go for a walk, I want my comfortable walking shoes. I want it to be nice outside. I don't want to trip over anything. We're going for the easiest route. We pursue pleasure. That's what we do. We pursue the exact opposite of what we have. We want what we don't have. Okay? Opposition, force. Everything we do is a force. Every feeling you have is a force that has an exact opposite force pressing against it. So if you're confused about your feelings, you know, you got to look for their opposition. But, you know, just remember the process. We sense, experience, know, and then act. So that means when we sense something, we turn the darkness of our thoughts inwardly towards the light of our feelings and interpret it that way, okay? The light of our feelings doesn't mislead us. It can't. I mean, it's the light. It's the fucking light itself. You know, it doesn't do wrong. If you ever want to know what your behavior or your feelings are supposed to be like, all you have to do is examine the light, okay? When I turn the light on, It does everything. It's all over the walls, it's on the floor, it's in my mouth, it's on my dick, it's all over the place. It does everything. It doesn't not do anything, okay? That's the nature of the light. You could start there. Okay, so yeah, just going forward, there's no such thing as a wave. Energy is not just energy, it's a force. Any energy is a force. Absolutely everything's a force, okay? So our eyes don't see color, okay? Just so you know, our eyes are not seeing color. That's why you couldn't describe a color. Our colors are felt physically, okay? That's the interpretation of our feelings. Our feelings, whatever color your feeling is, the opposite color is pressing against it. Where our feelings interpret the opposition. They have to be exact, equal, and opposite, physical and metaphysical opposing forces. So that's what your feelings are. You know, they are the sound of the silence making noise, talking. It is the sound of silence communicating with you. And you know, that's where your thinking is happening. You think with your feelings. Your intelligence is in your feelings. It doesn't have anything to do with your brain. Okay, that's where your intelligence comes from. We remember. Just think about this. If you're trying to tell somebody a story and you're trying to remember the details, you can't remember the story. All right, it's because you're thinking about them. When we think about our memories, we're thinking of a thought. That is thinking of a thought. That is the exact opposite of learning anything. That's backwards from knowledge. Okay. If you want to remember a story of any kind, all you have to do is think of the feelings it made you feel. How all of the details are present in those feelings, right? That's because that's where our mind is. That's where our memory is. That's where our thinking happens. That's our intelligence. That's everything is what we feel. The sensations that we feel pressing outwardly. Okay? All we got to do is look inwardly at them, you know, see what colors they are, what they're telling us, interpret them through that darkness, and there won't be so much conflict. There won't be a conflict. You know, we won't have a conflict. Our feelings are doing what they're supposed to do all the time. Okay? If we're ever confused about them, it's because there is an external force that's interfering, and it shouldn't be. Okay? Like if you look at the pseudo-heptagram, there should never be any regrets about where you come from. Never a question about where you're going. Never a question about what you're doing or being. And you shouldn't have a question about anything that you're seeing, hearing, or saying, ever. Ever. It's always the right thing. Whatever it is, the reason it's so difficult to learn anything, to learn the way school has taught us to gain information, is because we've been doing it backwards. Very backwards. Okay? We're trying to describe information instead of learning. We've literally been learning how to think about thoughts, how to think of a thought. Every one of our thoughts come directly from, every one of our expressions have to come directly from our feelings. There's no such thing as perspective. There is no such thing as perspective. If I'm looking at a rock, and you're looking at the same rock, even from a different angle, that rock is telling us, it's radiating to us every bit of its identity, and it's doing it with such perfect honesty and accuracy that I can approach it and know exactly how to interact with it in every way because it's been so honest with me, okay? So, when it comes to that rock, if I was to tell you what it looks like, okay, I'm lying. However, if I was to tell you how I feel about that rock and the sensations I got from it, I can't lie, right? It's that simple. That's it. Okay? Perspective is a lie. Nobody has different perspective. An object is not showing somebody else something different than what it's showing us. Okay? That is somebody else putting their description on the object and then misguiding, being misguided by trying to describe the object with their description instead of letting the object identify itself. Okay? So, yeah, that's another thing. There's objects don't lie to us. They don't mislead us. They don't misguide us. It's again, it relates to the metaphysical force of a lie. We've underestimated how powerful the force of lies are. A lie leaves a space, a metaphysical space where knowledge and information used to be. And that's why lies hurt, is the emptiness that they leave. That's damage, Again, metaphysical is more than physical. It's the big part. So that's the important part, Metaphysical force has every bit of influence on physical reality. You just got to think of it that way. But yeah, I'm going to say it again. There's nothing to worry about. Okay, take some confidence from this. Know that everything's a force. Everything's balanced. All right, especially your feelings. All right, but ask stuff. If you want to ask stuff, feel free. All right.